Hello, 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 well, hello, wherever you happen to be on this gratifying world we call Earth. I sincerely hope you are having a splendid day, even night, wherever you happen to be located. Welcome to my 3D channel. I'm using one of the world's top 3D packages. In this case, I'm using Blender. But my topic for today probably extends to all of the sister 3D packages. As you see from my title on YouTube, today I'm going to talk about something that I never heard discussed in the Blender world. Now, I did my research on, on educational websites about textures and material. They did have some things about it, but my definition is a little bit different. But I didn't see no Blender definition of materials and textures. So I'm gonna cover that. Alright, so here's my little demonstration. I'm going to go over what a material means in the real world. So, number one, material. This is a material. Wait a minute, I'm going to change. I like to change the color. I get tired of saying that blue color all the time. So I'm sorry, let me change the color, people. Tools, change the color. I'll change it to a purplish color. Maybe yellowish, dude. That's better to see. Alright, so I got that out the way. So, my first one is a material. Now, sorry if I make a mistake with the spelling, but I didn't go to college for spelling. I went there for something else. Next one is called a texture. So, I apologize if I made a mistake with my spelling, or if I talk too fast. I'm going to go over a material. A material, when I was in college, I studied Socrates. A material belongs to the world of thought. That's what a material belongs to. For instance, when you go into a hardware store, you don't ever ask for a texture. You don't ask for a texture. If I go to a hardware store, I may ask for brick. You can ask for brick. I may ask for wood. And I may ask for tiles. All three. I don't have to describe a brick. I don't have to describe wood. They are materials because they're in the world of ideas. And what I mean by that, from when I studied Socrates in college, like when he said a triangle, a circle, etc. Before we even make that a circle, a triangle, a square, it's in the world of ideas. And the world of ideas is a perfect. So brick, wood, tiles are in the world of ideas. Now, when it comes to the 3D realm, in 3D, basically, a material always, and in the physical world too, all of them have a color. But definitely in the 3D world, the first step of a material is a color. In the real world, a brick has a color, wood has a color, tiles has a color. But in the 3D world, that's the first step, color. Now, I'm going to go over to texture. Because I did a definition on a texture. The texture is the surface of an object. So, to know what the surface of an object is, you have to feel it. So, textures are more in the real world. You have to feel it. You feel a texture. A material is like an abstract idea, concept, abstract, wood, brick, tiles. But a texture, I can feel the brick. I can touch it. I know the brick is bumpy. I hope I spelled it right. Among other things, I know it feels bumpy. It's rough. Because I can feel the texture. Number 2, over here for wood. I know wood has splinters in it. I should say prickly. A wood feels prickly. And it's also in its normal state. Like I'm talking about the wood outside or the wood in the hardware store. It still it feels smooth. I know that. Wood in the hardware store feels smooth. So that's its texture. Number 3, a towel. I know in the physical world, most towels are squares. That's step 1 of a towel. I can see that. I can feel it. They have edges on them. I can feel the edges. And then it also feel smooth. So those are the major difference. In the 3D world, you will always have the material first. Because you have to give it a color. Then also I want to put up here, every texture, also a texture, a material has a color, and a texture has a color. So that's why I understand in Blender and other 3D software, when they say materials and texture, they both go hand in hand. But first you have to have that material first. So first the material, then the texture comes second. Because a material in 3D will always start off with a color. Or an image. I better say in the 3D world, a material can even be 1, a color, or 2, it can be an image. And it has no surface qualities. No surface qualities. So, I'm going to make a joke. So y'all can tell what I probably do by profession. I never told y'all what I do. But if you see me doing all this, you all have an idea what I do by profession. So we summed it up. Material is always first. Then the texture comes second. A material is usually a color. And it has no discernible surface features to it. No discernible surface features. For the most part, it's smooth. And you're not going to do where a texture has a color, but it has surface qualities such as a brick, bumpy, rough, wood, prickly, smooth. Tile is a square, has edges, and it's smooth. So we good to go. Now I can go into my 3D examples now. I have to get rid of all this stuff. So hold on, people. Hit D. I'm going to hit D and I got to get rid of all this stuff. Then I can move on. Now I might as well go over these images up here too. So before I go further, I'm going to discuss these little images I have here. Oops, I shouldn't get rid of the right material. I'm going to leave the words up here at the bottom. I'm going to erase all this. So just make it look, because I have a lot of writing on here. Sorry about that. I wish I could make this, for annotate the eraser tool. I wish I could have a different size, but as far as, I do have a different size. Oh, I'm hitting the, if you're doing annotate, you hit that scroll wheel and you got a different size. I never knew that until just now. So for annotate, touch our scroll wheel and it makes the size larger or smaller. That's new to me. So now I can erase this stuff fast. Real fast. Okay, I'm done. So we see up here. Number 1 in my little example right here. Right here in my 2 examples. Number 1. A material, before I even think about this is cloth. It's cloth. Number 1. Now you know in the real world, everything has a texture. In this life that we live in, it's a texture. But number 1, it better have a color. for material. That's number one. That's in the 3D world. That's number one. Able to have a color. Don't worry about how it feels. That makes the material. Now, when it comes to the texture, as you see from this example over here, for example number 2, it has a color. And it has a color. And it has surface qualities. So that's what makes it a texture. Surface qualities. Okay, so now I can bring in my examples, and we can get right into it. So let me get rid of this stuff again. I can get rid of everything now, so I'm done. So I said you all have an idea what my actual profession is. Let me zoom out and put it back on this. I can get rid of my 2 pictures now. I just hide them. Alright, I'm gonna bring in I'm gonna bring in 2 UV spheres. UV sphere 1. GY, slide it over. I'm gonna add me another UV sphere, add mesh, UV sphere 2, GY, slide it over. Now I'm gonna add some definition to it. So I'm hitting control 3, control number 3, there. Move back to the other one, control 3. So I got surface divisions to it. What is that actually called? Oops. Modifiers, add a modifier. So it has subdivision surfaces to it. So let's begin. Control number 3. Now both of them good to go. So the first thing I'm gonna do, and let's see, it's called a what? Material properties. I'm gonna click on material properties, and I have to. So right now, in the world of ideas, this ball don't have no material to it. There's nothing, no material. So I click new, and I'm just gonna give it a base color. Then later on, I'm just gonna assign it red, and there we go. Now I'm gonna come over here to my second sphere. So this was the easy one. Number 1 is the easy. See. Now I'm gonna come over to my second sphere. I'll worry about that later. Let's go into the shading first. I'm gonna go into those nodes. You see right here? The first button up here is base color. Like I said, every material first it better have a color. The color is red. We don't want to go no further than that. So keep that in mind. That's what the material is. And the ideal world, and you see all my switches right here basically have their default values. I can set them all to 0. In the perfect world, I can set them all to 0. And the color should not change one bit. Well, all the quality should be 0. So everything is 0. No, see, it's just glossless. It's just there. But to give it a material, you better give it a base color. And the principal shader was a big help to me. A big help. Even if I make it a text, well, I'm just going to leave it alone. We see the first button right here. The first button. Number 1. Every material, that's the first step. It has to have that base color. Right there. And you see Blender and other 3D packages too, they might have that default number 1 value. To be a material, it better have a base color. So we got that out the way. Now I'm going to go over to my second sphere. So I'm going to go back to layout mode. I'm going to click on my second sphere. I'm going to give it new. I'm going to choose base color. And I'm going to give it an image. Image texture. I'm going to find my image. I hope I remember what I saved it as. I think I forgot already. I know it's not Rocky, but I'll try to see. I think it was called Brick. I'm looking for the one called Brick. I hope I can find it. Let me see. I hope I called it Brick. Or I call it texture, I think. Nope. Alright, hold on for a minute. Let me look through my pictures and see if I can find the one that I wanted. I'm looking through my pictures. Oh, pictures. Let me click on pictures. I may go back and just download something. Okay, I'm just choosing one called brick. So I'm going to come back. Choose brick. Come back to Blender. I'm going to choose my texture called brick. Yep. One called brick. I had a better one, but hey. Yeah, that was it right there. That was it. So, look right here. They both are just the materials. If you look at the brick, it doesn't look, you can see it has grooves in it, but the brick doesn't look realistic. It don't look like it has the qualities of a real brick. So right now, if I go back to my shader mode, to my shading, you see the brick right here, and it just hooked up to a base color. Why it's hooked up to that, just that one, is just a material. I should say, to make it a texture, over here to the printable BSD, it has to be connected to at least two things for it to become a material. So, I'm going to hook it up right here. Oops. Erase this. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to do some more stuff with this. I'm going to just drag this out some. Drag it out some. I'm going to add my... And the moment I start touching, I want to zoom in on my little brick over here. Control. Oh, brother, I forgot how I do that. Okay, I'll just zoom in this way. I probably can hide this one right here. I can hide that one. Yeah, I'll hide this one. I'll zoom in some more to this so we can see it. You see the brick it don't look like no brick. It looks smooth. So the first thing I'm going to do, click back on it first. The first thing I'm going to do, add some roughness to it, because you know, brick, like I said in my definition, brick is sort of rough. So I'm going to increase my roughness. And we see slowly, I don't know if you can tell, but hey, let me make it go back down, my roughness. Yeah, you can see how light it look. No roughness, look like a glassy material. So I'm going to increase my roughness. Brick has a high degree of roughness. I'll leave it right there. So you see, but it's still, those indentations are still not doing nothing much. So it's becoming a texture because I'm starting to manipulate stuff on here. I want to make my specular. See, I brought my specular down. It's gaining more texture properties because you can see those indentations. I'm gonna bring my specular back up. You see that it's very high. I'm gonna bring it down. Now you see it's getting more. I'm adding more texture to it. Now it's becoming a texture. Roughness. Yeah, roughness for a brick. I'm making it go down low. See, it's low. You probably see up there, you probably see a little gloss coming. So I'm going to increase my roughness slowly. I'm going to put it right there, 0.76. I don't need to worry about anti-scrap. I don't need to worry about no sheen. I don't need to worry about clear coat. None of those. Now, the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add me a vector. I'm going to add me a bump to it. I'm going to hook it up to height. Hook it up to height. And hook this one up to normal. And now we see it got more texture-like definition. My strength is probably too high. Let me bring it down a little bit. See? I can bring my distance up, increase the bump map. I really can't tell. But we see now, if I bring it down to 0, you see it just looks like a material. When I increase the strength of it, we start to see that it has more of a brick quality. And that what makes it a texture. So you see I have at least, to make it an actual texture, over here in the printable BSDF, I have at least 2 connections. And that's another way how you know it's a texture. In the printable BSDF, you better have at least 2 connections. And now, officially, by definition, in the 3D world, it looks rough. It looks bumpy. It looks tough to the skin. And that what makes it a texture. So thank you for stopping by, people. I hope I gave you some insights to something that we take for granted in the 3D world. We keep using the word material and texture as if they're the same thing. They are not. Texture is related to material because every texture has a color. But a material has no surface qualities. Nothing. A texture has surface qualities. And you can look up the definition for materials and texture like I did. For the new people, you keep moving. You don't stop. You keep learning. As you can see there, people, I said this 3D stuff is a deep hobby of mine. It's close to my heart now. It's close to my heart. And I love to share what I've learned. The artists that come to me, I put it on YouTube. And it don't matter how many people come because I'm not trying to advertise my videos. I just throw them on YouTube and let them fly. Don't stop learning. You keep pushing and keep growing. Till the next time, Blender family, 3D family, peace.